that we've created, and I'm really excited today to share with you how to get started starting your own LLC or PLLC. In this group, we have a lot of people who want to find a new career route, but some people who want to be entrepreneurs. And we want to feed both of those interests because sometimes they blend. And so I have the wonderful Chelsea here. She and I have worked together for a while now, and she's extremely responsive, super fast communicating, super nice, and just easy to ask a lot of questions. And she's from Corpnet, and she's going to walk us through basically how easy it is to start your own business from an LLC or PLLC perspective. Now, if you're joining us in the Zoom, feel free to put any questions you have in the chat. And if you are on Facebook or YouTube, please put them in the comments too, and we will be answering them as best as we can. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the kind introduction. And I'm really looking forward to just going over how we can help and all the services we offer and answering any questions.
Perfect. I'm really excited. So I'm going to let you take it away.
All right. Great. So we prepared a slideshow today, which goes through some basics about what Corpnet is and how we can help. So we will go ahead and start with that. Is everyone able to see my screen? Okay, excellent. So Corpnet, how Corpnet can help. So we are a filing service. We help with all sorts of filings. Setting up business entities is a big one, as well as any sort of filing for that business entity itself. And we operate in all 50 states. Here is an overview of some of the services that we offer, covering for new businesses, everything from checking to see if the name's available to actually filing the articles with the state. And then we also get EINs with the IRS. We create all the internal documentation that's needed, basically everything that someone would need to open a new business bank account right after they set up their entity. And then once that entity exists, or for entities that we didn't form that were formed elsewhere that would like services, we assist with compliance such as annual reports, registered agent services, and essentially anything that can be filed with the state. So that could be like a S election form, a registered agent, amendments. Another really big thing right now is employer tax registration, since companies are hiring out-of-state employees that maybe hadn't done so in the past. So we can help with that filing. Sales tax, if you need to a seller's permit or you're selling taxable goods. So essentially, if it's a filing that's done for a business with the state, we can assist with it. Our website has an overview and pricing and timelines, and you can also reach out to me directly for any sort of quotes.
Awesome. And you may be wondering sort of real fast, like, why is something like Corpnet really helpful? And so I'm a sole proprietor. So I feel like as a sole proprietor, that's something you can definitely do on your own. But we, as alternative healthcare careers, we have a healthcare business mentor program where we help therapists and therapy assistants start their own healthcare businesses. And when you are treating patients, that's a lot more liability. And so we recommend that you get an LLC or a PLLC. And that way you just have the extra liability. Also, sometimes it's required in states to be able to provide therapy services. You have to be a PLLC, which essentially is a professional LLC. And that's because we're therapists or assistants. And that's in some states, that's what's required. And so that paperwork can be a lot more challenging, can be a lot more confusing. And so that's where someone like Chelsea can come in and she can just make sure that you're filing that appropriately.
Yeah, very, very good point, Emma made. Professional entities are a lot more difficult. They also often have naming requirements based on the profession type. There's a lot more to it than a regular filing. However, sole proprietorships often refers to an individual using a fictitious business name, and we can also assist with that and any publications or anything else that's required. Payroll tax resources, this would just be for, as I mentioned, employer tax registration. If you're running payroll for yourself or anyone else, this employer tax has to be submitted to the state that you live in. That way your payroll provider is withholding the right taxes. So we assist with this as well. Getting started. So in using Corpnet, a lot of those in healthcare choose to operate as an LLC or PLLC, although sometimes there's no choice. If you're unsure if your type of healthcare would require a PLLC or a professional corporation, we can definitely give you information about the state's requirements so that your filing has the highest chance of being approved by the state and that you have the smallest chance of running into any issues from your entity type. So we file the paperwork with the states. And then also too, we advise on the state requirements. Like this mentions California doesn't offer PLLCs. So in that situation, we would be able to provide you with information on the other options you would have since PLLCs wouldn't be an option in that state. You'll be assigned a dedicated account manager. So that's another thing that we really pride ourselves on is that everyone that places any sort of order with us has their own dedicated account manager. I work exclusively with Emma and all of her clients, so I will be your account manager. I have a really great team as well that is there to assist. However, I personally always make sure emails are responded to same day or 24 hours and phone calls as well. So you'll always be able to get really quick personalized service and you won't have to worry about, calling into a number and waiting on hold and having to explain yourself to someone from the beginning. It just makes the whole process a lot easier.
That's what I really love. Like I was really impressed with Chelsea because she literally, I do emails all the time at night. Many of you have probably gotten my 8 o'clock email reminders and things. And so I'm always impressed with someone else does that too. And so I emailed Chelsea and it was like within 20 minutes at night, she was getting back to me. And so very impressed with your customer service and people may be wondering, well, why this versus some other various like providers that can do LLC or PLL services? And I think it really comes down to the fact that, you have someone that you can actually talk to and that walks you through the process and is there, for any questions you have. And you can feel really confident that you're choosing, the LLC or the PLLC correctly. Because the last thing you want is to apply for an LLC, but your state actually required a PLLC. We don't want that to happen.
Right. And, setting up a business, it can be very stressful, especially a lot of people, they have no idea they don't know what they don't know. And that's even, it puts you in a kind of a vulnerable position almost. So we're here to answer any questions you have. I'm not an attorney, so I can't give, legal advice, but I can answer any questions you have factually. If I don't know the answer already, we'll find out for you. So we can definitely help make the process a lot less stressful and make sure that you have all the information that you need. Also, not to get too off track, but on an ongoing basis, we also do compliance reminders so that you'll be aware of your state's requirements for annual report filings. So a lot of times people have someone set up an entity for them and they don't realize they have to do filings each year to keep it active. So you'll automatically get compliance alerts from us. So you'll have at least 90 days notice before your state compliance filings are due. We can assist with that as well. So back to the slides, processing times. This actually varies based on the state and based on the entity type. It can vary by several months depending on the state. So this is just kind of a general estimate. Once we send you a quote, it will have the exact times for your state. Some states don't even have the 24-hour option. But this is just kind of a general, estimate standard, about 30 business days, express 10 to 15. And I know our site will say 24-hour, but that truly is about 2 to 3 business days in reality. However, the great thing is that if the times that we give are based around the current turnaround time by the state. So if the state does approve the filing quicker than we expect them to, you're going to get your documents quicker from us as well. We have a very short turnaround time in state. So it's kind of just to give you an idea of what to expect with regards to the state, and we'll get everything out to you shortly after. And also to clarify what I mean by that, for entity formations, as soon as the process is done within this speed, you'll receive an email from us with all your filed documents. So you could just walk into the bank, open up a bank account, and then with our complete formation package, we also mail out a really nice custom binder package to you. It has an embosser tool, certificates. So that will arrive in the mail about 3 to 5 business days after, but this processing time is guaranteeing that electronically you'll receive everything you need within that time. Okay, finished filings. So this is showing a screenshot of what your Corpnet account dashboard will look like. Whenever you place an order with us, an account is automatically created for you, and that account is great for many things. One of them, the initial thing you'll use it for most likely is checking the status of your order. So if you see right in this section, there's 5 statuses that your order can be in, which just tells you where we are in the process. You can of course reach out to us to check, but this is just good so you can get the information anytime you need it. And then once the filing is completed, this dashboard will allow you to see your next annual report due date, place orders, and re-download documents as well. Compliance alerts that I was just mentioning, here's kind of what it will look like. This says Biz Alerts. That's the section of your account that will show you the due dates. And if you click order now, it shows you the amount. Also, we understand some people file it themselves. They have a CPA file it for them. So if you have filed outside of Corpnet, you can click the button that says dismiss, which is right next to order now, and then it just resets the alert for next year to ensure that you're not getting alerts for a filing that's already done. It'll remain accurate. Other resources, our website is filled with a ton of really, really great tools, and we also send out emails on a regular basis on certain topics that our clients have expressed interest in. One of the tools, if you're first starting off, is our business structure wizard, where you answer a series of questions, and then it will give you the closest match for the entity type. However, for those forming entities for healthcare or other professional types, usually don't have much of a choice. So this could be more of just if you're setting up an entity for non-professional purposes. Essentially, any business that does not require licensed practice, you do have the choice. Trademark search, if you're interested in doing a trademark, we also offer trademark application preparation, and we have a free search tool on our site. Super easy to use. Just type in the word and the search will show you any trademarks that exist or have been applied for or abandoned, basically everything that comes up. That's the free search. We also order a comprehensive search report. However, those are typically ordered by attorneys since it's a lot of data that someone without a lot of knowledge in how trademarks work wouldn't really understand, but it is available if that's something that you're interested in doing before just jumping into application, which I'd recommend doing research as much as possible before jumping in.
And I was actually going to say that same thing. A lot of people think, oh, I don't need a trademark. I'm not going to be Amazon or Google. But, take Dr. Mike Chua, one of our amazing hosts here in the group. I mean, Jerry Hab has such an amazing name. I hope he's got that thing trademarked or is going to trademark that. And people are trademarking things like rehabpreneur and mompreneur and all these different brands and things like that, that even online courses and online entrepreneurs, you start to trademark because you really get known for that brand name. And so when you are thinking about what title to name your business, we go through a number of things. I talk about to make sure that no one else has your business name, doing a search in GoDaddy or in any of those host providers to make sure that no one else has your domain name, because you may come up with a name only to have it taken on the domain name side and doing search. But doing a quick trademark search is actually really, really helpful too, just in case you do want to trademark something in the future as you grow your company.
Mm-hmm. Very, very, very good point. And that also kind of ties back to with entities name protection. So whenever you're with professionals, of course you also have the option to do a fictitious name, which sometimes people call sole proprietorship. But one of the biggest reasons why people choose to form an entity as opposed to a fictitious name is because entities have automatic name protection, which means that nobody in your state can even attempt to submit a LLC or corporation with the same name. The state will not approve the filing because you already have it. So name protection is really big when you're building a brand. As Emma mentioned, you want to make sure that people know you by that name. It belongs to you. Nobody else can use it. So while setting up an entity ensures that in your state it belongs to you, trademarks are federal protection. So in all 50 states, but it's within the class that you select. So that means that within your industry, it's protected. So like a common example I give is Pandora. There's Pandora Radio and there's Pandora Jewelry. They both have a trademark. It's possible because they're completely different businesses. So the trademark will protect your the words that you choose within your industry. So you have that sort of protection federally too in all 50 states. So that's definitely something good to consider once your business has been up and running. The trademark application requires a lot of information to where new businesses can't really apply. It's designed more to protect a word or an image that a company is actively using as opposed to reserving it for a new business. So it's usually something that won't be done till at least a year or so in. But if you decide that it's something you want to do, we can do that application for you. And our pricing is really reasonable as well, words and logos.
Awesome. I love it. See, I learned something new. I didn't know all about the different federal and state. So that was great. See, wealth of knowledge. Awesome.
There's so much. I learn something new every week too. It's just lots of stuff out there. Meeting minutes templates. If you form a professional corporation or any type of corporation except a nonprofit corporation, you must have meeting minutes in your records for every year it's existed. We offer customized meeting minutes for a fee. Our website has free templates for specific situations, which are kind of designed to be like add-ons to your minutes. Like there's a template for opening a bank account, or if you go to our website and you'll see there's certain text you could click on and then you'll get the template for it, which is completely free. And then if you'd also like us to do the actual yearly meeting minutes, we do them. We have a questionnaire where you can completely customize everything down to, what time it was at, where it was, who was there, who took notes. So really helpful in helping to make sure you stay compliant. Guides and checklists. We have a bunch of guides and checklists on our site for different entity types, starting a business, things like that. And then blog posts. Once you place an order with us, you can opt into our mailing list where you will get our blog posts, newsletters, things like that. So I would definitely recommend opting in. They're pretty, I'd say maybe not more than 2 or 3 times a month. So it's definitely worth it just to get that. You never know what sort of information you may come across that could be helpful. So I would definitely recommend that. And then this is me. This is my contact information. As we discussed, I'll be your dedicated account manager and you'll be able to work directly with me and my team. Here's my email address. And I believe Emma has it posted somewhere, but if anybody else needs it, we'll figure out a way that I could send it. And then this is just our team. We have currently 98 employees throughout the United States. We're growing too. So, we're here to make sure that your filings are done correctly and quickly. And I look forward to meeting with all of you and working with all of you.
Awesome. Now, don't escape, everyone. I have a couple more questions for Chelsea. The
Sure.
first is, if you do want to use Chelsea's services, it's very reasonable, and we have a coupon for 10% off if you use the code ACG10. That's ACG10. You can get 10% off. Or if you forget the coupon code, you can just tell Chelsea you know us from the Alternative Healthcare Careers group, and she'll know who you're talking about. In addition, Chelsea, do you want to real quickly go over what they need to provide you in order for you to help with the LLC or the PLLC?
Yeah, of course. So at a minimum, just to start, like if you're reaching out to me for the first time, the only thing that you would need to share with me would be the state that you're in and the entity type you're interested in, as well as your profession. That will allow me to determine if, the state's requirements and the requirements based on your entity type, and I can get a quote out to you. The quote will give you the available processing speeds and the total cost with Emma's discount and a list of everything that's included. And then I'll also give you a list of information that we'll need, which is just really basic information. Just to give you a quick overview of what we need for most entity types is just your desired name, brief description, the business address, which of course can be your home address if you don't have a dedicated business address yet. The name of anyone that will have ownership, which if it's for a professional entity, typically they're just owned by one person, unless if two people share the same license, but that all kind of varies. And then the social security number of one person for EIN obtainment, called the responsible party. Additionally, we collect the payment up front because we need to pay out the state fees to submit the articles, and we'll need your shipping address to send your binder to, which that part is just for the binder, won't appear on any documents.
Awesome.
So that's an overview, but of course I'll send out all of that in an email form, so you have that information in front of you if you need it.
Exactly. Whenever you email Chelsea, she gets you all that information in a really easy handout. And then can you go over what they get in that binder? Because I thought it was really nice that you provide them with sort of all the documents in a very organized way. Trust me, as you're an entrepreneur, it becomes very hard to organize. So if someone gives you something organized, it's a huge blessing.
Right. And it's also too, it's kind of cool because it's usually like the first thing that someone will get with their company name on it. It's official. I actually have one right here that I could show you guys. Let me get it.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what the binder looks like. Can everyone?
Awesome.
Am I still showing my screen, or you guys can see it?
Nope, I can see it. I mean, it's small. Do you want me to? I mean, if you're done, I can stop sharing your screen if you want.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, so now you guys just see me. Okay, so this is what the binder looks like. It has the company name engraved on the front. There's a zipper. Some people that have been doing this a while maybe remember the hard cases. Some real old timers call them the black beauties. They're hard cases that like slip into a kind of like a cover that has a spine with the name on it. We could do those too. Those come in black and burgundy, but if you don't specify, you'll get this blue leather binder. Inside, you'll see that there's different tabs, which I know it's going to be too hard to see, but the tabs
I see it
tell
good.
you. Oh, good. Okay, great. It's just to organize all your internal documents. So if someone says 2 years from now, I need your articles of organization, you open up the binder, go to the tab, it's right there. We actually, when we send out the binder to you, it's already organized. Like, articles, open it up, there's your articles. Also, member certificates, which have the name of the company already entered onto them. Nice. And if it's a corporation, it'll be stock certificates. So say in the future, you take on a new member, a new shareholder, you can give them that official certificate to kind of commemorate that and record it. And then you also get your own embosser tool, which it looks like this. This is what it looks like when the stamp is in here. This part comes out. This is the stamp, which is a really great way to make certain documents official because you're the only one that has your embosser tool. It's the official seal of your company.
That is really cool.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. I just think these are awesome. It kind of is a learning curve when you first start using it, but then when you do, it's just really, really easy. People use it for their stock certificates. The reason why we include it is because sometimes banks need it when you go to open your bank account. We want to make sure everyone has what they need to just walk into their bank. So yeah, it's, a great way to kind of have all your documents in one place for easy access in the future, record other things as well. Yeah, there's a miscellaneous tab for other things, your EIN. So it's just a really great thing to have for your records. And if you need to, give your records to your, CPA, attorney, it's all there for you. And then of course you also have electronically. So it's just kind of a nice way to tie everything together.
It really is, and be organized and have that. And I love the fact that it's on the dashboard too, and this you have it in both places. It's very organized, and the reminders are so helpful. I've learned, so the first year I started my business, everyone, I try to be real cheap, try to do it myself. But as you get bigger and busier, these automated reminders are well worth it. It is just, it's so helpful. I've just tried to set everything on automated estimated taxes, automated sales tax, and automate your business compliance with Chelsea and Corpnet, because if you forget these things, it can be, very bad. And so just the more you can get these automated reminders, it's just peace of mind. Like initially I was always like on vacation and like, oh my God, I need to pay my taxes now. And it's so stressful and frustrating. So to have this is very helpful. Let's go into questions now here. And if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments or in the chat. And I do have one question already, Chelsea, because I've gotten this before from some of our mentees. Let's say they're maybe going to move somewhere in the same state and they use their home address with the filing. How difficult is it to then update that address to, say, an address where they finally decide that they're going to use for their business?
It's not difficult, but it does depend on the state. In some states, they're not even recording the business address, in which case you don't need to do anything. If the state does record the business address, it's just a matter of filing an amendment to update it there. Or in some states also, you could just update it on your annual report when it's due. The IRS typically will also have to be updated, especially if you can't get mailed the other address, because when we get the EIN, the IRS asks for that. We also offer assistance with updating it with the IRS, or you could just let your tax preparer do it when you file taxes.
Awesome. And then I have one more thing. Let's say you file your LLC and then maybe partway through you add someone that's going to be like a partner with you on the LLC. Can that just be an amendment, or does that need to be a whole new filing as well?
It depends. It's pretty complicated. So if the state keeps it on file, always at a minimum, it's an amendment. With the IRS, it depends on if a couple of factors are changing. Say there's one person when the company's formed and then they add a member. Well, now it's no longer a single member LLC. There's two members, which the IRS calls a partnership. If there's more than two members, it's called a multi-member LLC. So basically, if your classification or the number of members the IRS is changing, they have to be notified at a minimum. And then if the responsible party, which is the person that gives their social security number at the time EIN is obtained, if they're changing, the IRS has to be notified too. So basically the only times the IRS wouldn't have to be notified is, say, when the company's formed, there's two members and one of the members leaves and is replaced with another member, but the responsible party didn't change. So then the IRS doesn't need to be notified because it's the same responsible party and there's still two members. So it's a little hard to kind of, I'm sure for people that don't think about this stuff every day, that probably just seems like a crazy amount of information. But long story short, we can give you a custom quote. It depends on the state. If it's on file with the state, always has to be amended. And with the IRS, it just depends on the situation.
Awesome. No, that was an excellent answer. And then I've got one more. Let's say I live in Florida and I file an LLC in Florida. Well, actually, no, I've got two more questions because I know everyone's going to ask about PLLC. So we've got to talk about LLC versus PLLC. So hang tight, people. But let's say I file my LLC for Florida, but then I move to, I'm just naming a state, Wisconsin. Do I need to make a whole new LLC, or can I use that LLC?
In this situation, what I would do is called a redomestication. It's a filing designed to move an LLC from one state to another. However, this sort of thing has to be, a custom quote has to be put together. Some states allow redomestication, some states don't. Some states only allow it if the other state allows it. So it totally varies, that sort of thing. All we have to know is the entity name, the domestic state, and the state they're moving to. I'll put together a quote detailing everything. Say both states don't allow it. They just don't have any options, like California and New York, for example. no options. You would just form a domestic entity in the desired state. Once that's approved, dissolve in the previous state. That way you have no gaps where the entity didn't exist. And if somebody goes, oh, well, this is a new company, you could show them the original articles and the dates and just kind of show that everything lined up, because you won't have that actual filing, the redomestication filing itself. So there's always an option. It just depends on what the states allow.
Awesome. I love it. And you're on fire. These are great answers, great answers. And see, this just proves like how much knowledge you have and that you can help us through all these different questions, because you're going to get them. I know it. And you already have, because you know these right off the top of your head. I've got
Yeah.
And then I've got one last one. And I know this is the most important question, and I almost forgot it, is we get this asked all the time, LLC versus PLLC. So let's briefly talk a little bit about that.
Well, they're actually pretty much identical. The only difference is that a PLLC, only professionals can form it. You can't set up a bakery for a PLLC. PLLC is basically those that require a license to do their business activity. Surgeons, chiropractors, architects, attorneys, they must form a professional LLC or professional corporation. The difference is that type, it's restricted. There's more requirements. They can't really choose their name most of the time. They have to have their name formatted a certain way. And some states like New York, for example, I hope no one on this call ever has to form a PLLC in New York. They actually take a year. That's how long they take. There's no way to do it any quicker than that, because you have to get approvals from all these different boards and departments, and things that be sent by mail, and it takes a long time. So some states are more difficult than others, but long answer short, only professionals can form them. Don't really have a choice. You either have to do one or you can't do one. And there may be requirements based on the name, and your licensing board may have to oversee or approve it or things of that nature. But otherwise, structure-wise, taxation-wise, compliance-wise, everything else, they're identical. It's an LLC.
Perfect. And for those of you wondering, some of the things that Chelsea briefly mentioned, so she said, that you can't even sometimes form it. And what she means by that is some states, they don't have the requirement of a PLLC. And in that case, that's okay. You just create your LLC. Other states, I think like California, right, doesn't have a PLLC. Well, I can't quite remember.
Right, but in that state, that just means they have to form a professional corporation. They're not allowed to form a regular entity. There's only one state that really just doesn't care, which would be Florida. Otherwise, if you're professional type, you have to form a professional entity, or usually you can also do a fictitious name if you want. But then, as we were discussing earlier, that means no name protection, no liability protection, no control over how you're taxed, no S-election or anything like that.
Exactly. So if you do need one, Chelsea will help you understand in your state if that's required. And also you can go online and look. And so what I've suggested some of our mentees is just type in like PLLC in Montana. And then that will pull up a list usually of what professionals are required for the PLLC. Because oddly enough, like some states it'll say PT, some states it'll say OT, some states it'll only say PT, but it's not going to say speech or OT. And so in those cases, you then, from my understanding, if it's not saying underneath that, Chelsea, that OTs need to do a PLLC, then they can do the LLC. Is that correct?
I would just recommend, if they're doing online research, to only go to the Secretary of State website for that state.
Yeah, the state.
Yeah. Otherwise, there's so many websites out there with just information that I'm just like, where did this come? People are just making it up. I don't know where it came from. So yeah, you can check the state website. Even for me, with as much knowledge as I have, a lot of the times I have no idea what they're talking about on the state website. So if you're ever not sure, I'd say just reach out, and I can get that information for you. We have tons of guides where I could usually just find it out immediately. Otherwise, we can call the state and find out.
Perfect. So long story short here, taxes and everything else is the same. Just when Chelsea files it, or say, you don't have to use Corpnet, no problem. We're just here to provide you guys lots of different education. But, just make sure that you've done your due diligence, whether you need a PLLC or an LLC. And then, when you're going to do the filings, that may be a little different. But other than that, your tax structure and everything else is just like an LLC. So just think of it like, because we are therapists or assistants and licensed, we likely need to have the PLLC depending upon the state. Awesome. Perfect.
A lot of the times too, I want to mention, sometimes we'll call the state and say, oh, does this professional type need a PLLC? And they'll say, we can't make that decision. Ask your, whoever they got the license from. So I would say, even before doing any sort of research with the state, to ask, I'm not sure the right terminology, I'm sorry, whichever entity has given you the license you use to practice, to check with them. They can usually tell you. If they don't have a preference, then that's when it would default on what the state's requirements are.
Perfect. Well, thank you. I think that's all the questions we have, Chelsea. Anything else that you want to go over before we end this call?
You know what? That should probably cover the basics. I don't want to overload everyone with too much. But if anyone has any other questions, just feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. And don't forget to use code ACG10. And if you have any questions, you can always email us at info@alternativehealthcarecareers.com. And we will see you in our next training. Thank you. Bye-bye.